Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be giving you my take and sharing my thoughts on the March 31st, 2018 full moon in Libra. Now, the full moon in astrology sometimes can signify a culmination or end of something. Could also be a period where we become exasperated, tired, had enough, become full, so to speak, of something. Now, this could also be a very powerful unleashing and outpouring of emotional energy with very strong, uninhibited, unrestrained emotional expression. It can be a time where many may go forth, go public with something. This could also be a greater propensity for accidents during this time. A lot of this attributed, of course, to the very strong, powerful emotional energy and Alice more loony behavior, maybe so to speak. So also, of course, people with the sun, moon, or ascendant in Libra or Cancer can be impacted and affected very strongly by this transit. However, it may affect everybody collectively, but Libra strongly, of course, because it's in its own sign, and the full and also the full moon. Transits, phases of the moon can affect Cancer strongly, of course, because Cancer is ruled by the moon, and they are really sensitive to transits and phases by the moon. Now, and a lot of this is strongly attributed, of course, to why Cancer is so fickle, moody, and temperamental. Now, given that this is a full moon in Libra at this time, many people may become tired of a relationship, lack of fairness, equality in a situation, perhaps things, something not being equitable in their mind. It could be a painstaking legal matter, or some business partnership comes to a conclusion at this point. A business partnership may come to an end or culmination. Painstaking, tedious legal matter may come to an end for many. This could be a time where something with negotiation, reconciliation may come to an end for many, maybe after a long, tiring process of that, and or I should say, a long, tiring period of that. It could also be something connected with arbitration for many, may come to an end at this point as well. And really, this could be you're talking about this full energy, and really this could be something where um, really people connected with things that are Libra related, such as the law enforcement, attorneys, paralegals, court reporters, arbitrators, negotiators, even chiropractors, because Libra is connected with the lower back. They may be excessively busy during this time. And what it's interesting to, you're looking at this, and many may want to consummate their vows at this time. In marriage, it could be where people might feel more of an urge or need to do things collaboratively as opposed to by themselves at this time. This could be a time where an artistic endeavor or art project for many may come to an end at this time. And the thing about this is you have, of course, when you have the full moon in astrology, you have an opposition, of course, between the sun and the moon. Now, in this case, of course, the sun in Aries is opposite the moon, full moon in Libra. So really, a lot of this could be about that, like a tug of war between the basic wants, wanting to things of an egocentric nature, doing things for oneself, versus doing things perhaps for others at this time. And really the want maybe to want to combat and be confrontational versus the emotional need for wanting peace and mediation. And of course, when you have that opposition, it could be a lot of tension, a lot of exasperation connected with them. Now, also too, many even more introverted people may feel like ingratiating themselves in groups more. Now, I think what's interesting about this We talk about Libra being the sign of balance and fairness. You're going to have on this day, there's going to be 15 Major League Baseball games scheduled, 5 NBA games, and 12 NHL games. And I expect more on average percentage-wise to be more competitive and balanced at this time than usual. And I expect a lot of, really iffy calls. You're going to have, I think, more. Mercury is going to be retrograde still, and you're going to have more extensive and more, I think, more frequent reviewing of instant replay reviews in a lot of these games, more so than usual on this day, I believe. And anyway, because that strong need, that powerful emotional need for fairness might be even more emphasized at this time. A lot of these games, like say in the NBA, I could see a lot of these games with the fouls being called very evenly, more so than usual, because of the strong need for that fairness and for being fair-minded and equitable. Now, also, uh, as far as this full moon in Libra goes, it's also important to look at the house that this transits in your chart, as this, of course, could impact the delineation. Now, mine is going to fall in my 6th house. Now, perhaps this could indicate or suggest for me that I might become tired of somebody, perhaps with the superficial charm in my work or daily routine. Also, too, it could be about maybe a lower back issue, maybe becomes completely tiresome and I become exasperated over it, because I do have an issue with my lower back. I actually have a protruding or bulging disc. I'm not deformed, but those of you that know about these things, you could have the disc that is just off just by, it might be, less than an inch, and it just is a position of the disc where it is considered to be bulging, where it's slightly out of place. So anyway, but going back to this, the full moon in Libra. Now, it's also looking at this too. It's also important to look at the aspects this makes in your chart, as this, of course, could impact the delineation and interpretation as well. Now, one thing is it's going to square my 2nd house, Sun in Cancer. This could suggest a conflict between incorporating intellectual sociability in the daily routine, and perhaps the and also the basic want, the Sun in Cancer in the 2nd house for safety, the basic one for safety and security, and really an introversion, and those could be things that I strongly value being in the 2nd, and of course that could cause a lot of tension. Also, too, this full moon in Libra transit is going to make an opposition to my natal 12th house Chirons in Aries. So this could be a really a tug of war, and it really between, and really some conflict between the emotional energy into balancing perhaps the daily routine and my health, and that could be where it's opposing dealing with perhaps acrimonious, combative, contentious situations in my private life. So it can be where you're trying to do one, and I might be trying to do one, but I'm also trying to do something else, and one is conflicting perhaps with getting the other, dealing with the other, and trying to deal with both, maybe almost simultaneously, can cause certain tension perhaps. So anyway, the thing about this too is, as far as this full moon in Libra transit goes, this is going to also, when you have a full moon in astrology, other aspects that planets may make to natal points in your chart could be intensified, I believe, as well. And because I'm going to have the transit Sun in Aries is going to make a close conjunction to my natal Chiron in Aries in the 12th house. Now, when the Sun does this, it can shine. When the Sun makes a conjunction to a point in your chart, it could shine the light, so to speak, on issues. And because it's going to make that conjunction to my natal Chiron and Aries in the 12th house, this could perhaps shine some light, so to speak. Perhaps some kind of emotional wounds and perhaps suffering connected with lack of initiative, enterprise, aggressiveness, and assertiveness in tackling and dealing with limitations and restrictions. And also maybe shining that light or putting some light on the fact that maybe impulsiveness that may have led to my own self-undoing, and even acrimonious situations that may have led to self-undoing for me as well. Now also, it's important, I mean, for me to, and others, some may not agree, but to look at the degree it's in and analyze that, because I do believe in Sabian symbols, and the full moon in Libra will be at 10 degrees. Now, given that, as far as Sabian symbols go, this could be very fortuitous and auspicious for marriage, actually having a marriage, for those that might, they might be, whether it's consummating the vows, or they're getting, right to that point right before they're going to marry, or they actually decide to take that relationship to that final stage and truly marry. This could be the marriage. It could be good in terms of getting married and doing these things, but it may have a number of these may have some ulterior motives, such as improving the stature in life, superficial materialistic reasons, avarice, etc. So really, also too, transits, as I stated before, I mean, to your natal points in your chart on this, at this time on this day, could be intensified as well. But also, I mean, just the transits in general on this day can be intensified. Venus will be entering Taurus. Now, given that, this could signify a beginning, perhaps, of a new, loyal, steadfast, persistent relationship, and also perhaps a new monetary cycle. Remember that this is going to be in its dignity, Venus in Taurus. And the full moon in Libra may signify or suggest an ending of a number of relationships. But the positive side, one of the positives on this day, is that Venus will be entering Taurus, and this could be that new beginning, could be on the horizon for many. And also too, on this day, transit Jupiter will be making a sextile to Pluto. So this is something that could be auspicious for making a major change in connection as far as with this transit. Now, and also very lucky, as far as doing so, making that major change or transformation, and that could be going on to a new relationship, a new business partnership. Anyway, also too, the full moon is going to make a square to the Mars-Saturn conjunction in Capricorn. So there can be a very strong, powerful emotional need for intellectual sociability in relationships, but it may conflict with rather acrimonious supervisors, authority figures, and really older people, and they might, in being in Capricorn, might seem somewhat cold, undemonstrative, callous, even tyrannical in some cases. So anyway, another thing to take note, I find very interesting about on this day with this full moon in Libra, that Chiron will be at 29 degrees Pisces. Now, 29 degrees Pisces suggests perhaps an end of a literal or figurative confinement or imprisonment. I'm hoping there's not going to be more excessive amount of prison escapees on this day. Remember, the full moon will be in Libra, so I mean, this could also indicate that there can be really more activity connected with law enforcement. It might be dealing with prison escapees, perhaps. And also, you have this 29 degrees, the full culmination of the sign in Pisces. This could be a very strong, really energy connected with drugs and alcohol use. More people getting DUIs than usual. Remember that this is going to fall on a Saturday as well. So that Saturday night is where things could get very active. Anyway, on those nights, of course, you got more people out drinking and having their enjoyment, imbibing, and maybe even doing drugs as well. They got more free time to do it, so you're going to have more activity likely with that on Saturday, of course. So anyway, so also too, this could indicate too that many may end a relationship that they feel confined to when you look at the fact that it's the full moon in Libra coupled with that Chiron 29 degrees Pisces influence on this day. And also too, there might be really many people succumbing to drug alcohol use at this time, and coupled with the full moon, of course, a much greater propensity for accidents, and perhaps especially car accidents, because you have the drinking involved, perhaps in drugs. So anyway, another thing too about this Chiron in Pisces at 29 degrees on this day, that it makes no major aspects to any planets. So it suggests perhaps there will be less resistance in trying to help others heal wounds via compassion, self-sacrifice, and empathy, but perhaps there might be more difficulty in terms of healing one's own wounds connected with Pisces, like things such as deception, duplicity, betrayal, drugs. It could be things connected with chemical assimilation, alcohol. So, and two, thing about this too is what people got to understand, that it's going to be, when you're looking at 29 degrees Pisces, it's going to be very close to that fixed star sheet. And remember when we had the that mass shooting at the Orlando gay bar in 2016, the ascendant was at 0 degrees Aries. And when you had the March 20th, 2018 Maryland shooting, the sun was at 29 degrees Pisces, and of course both close to the fixed star sheet at the time. And of course the fixed star sheet can be associated with very strong tribulation and homicide. So anyway, those are some things to look at this time. And of course, when you got the full moon in Libra, that can intensify what I was just stating before, because you have a full strong emotional energy. And when you have strong emotional energy, it's not always about objective energy, even though I understand it's going to be in Libra. So anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment for my take and sharing my thoughts on the March 31st, 2018 full moon in Libra. And stay tuned next time, where I'm going to be talking about Sagittarius relationships. Two things I want to get with you on before I head out. Firstly, the stars may impel but do not compel. And secondly, never isolate any single astrological element, aspect, planetary placement, position, configuration, influence, or what have you, and make an analysis of someone astrologically speaking based on this alone, because astrologically speaking, the person is the sum of all their components in their natal chart and not just one. Until next time, people, stay well.